Today we're going to show you how to build a basic rope access harness that you might find on an iRider level 1, for example. Level 2s and 3s may include more equipment, but here's where we start. So here we have the Petzl Astro International harness. As you'll see, it's a work positioning harness. It comes in two components, the body component and also the chest component, which makes it a work positioning. We can also use these harnesses for fall arrest and fall restraint. But we're going to show you how to put it on now. We'll lay it out on the floor, pull the chest straps to the side and pull the waistband apart. We want to open up the leg loops in the middle here, make sure there's no twisting in the webbing so that we can step through and into the leg loops to start with. And keeping the chest straps to the side, grabbing the waist, we can literally pull it up. And then slip the chest straps over our head. The first thing we want to do is secure the waist nice and firm. This should be the most securely fastened part of the harness, around our waist, up nice and high. Put the excess straps back into the keepers. Different brands are going to vary slightly, but essentially they're going to have the same features. With our leg loops, we want to have a nice comfortable fist that can slide through these leg loops so they're not too tight and they don't cut off our circulation. We'll get pins and needles as we're working or even pass out. And also want to make sure they're nice and secure. If they're buckles that can become unfastened like this, make sure they're not cross-loaded or undone. And give it a good test and a good check to make sure they're in and they're not going to come undone. Finally, we can tighten up the chest strap a little bit. We won't do that too much. That's the final check when we get on the ropes and we're loaded up in our chest scroll. Then we can pull this nice and tight and again put these excess straps in the keepers. So the basic setup for the rope access technician, we're going to need 3 cow's towels, 2 backup devices, a descending device, around about 8 carabiners, 2 foot loops, and of course a helmet. And we've got, there's a lot of selection available on the market. We're going to show you some gear that's commonly used in different parts of the world, in different sectors. So we'll start off with a cow's towel. We're attaching the cow's towel onto the ventral D-ring. Our harnesses have a few D-rings that are rated to 15 kilonewtons. We have the ventral D-ring, the sternum D-ring and the 2 lateral D-rings. They're all rated to 15 kilonewtons. What we do with our cow's towels is we attach it to our D-ring with we like to choose the rethreaded figure of 8 on a bight. So the tail that we create is around about 10 times the diameter of the rope. In this instance, 10.5 to 11 mil, so about 110 mil of a tail that we hang out there. So we create that tail that we want to end up with, feed the longer end of the cow's tail through. Just an FYI, whenever we bend the rope like this, we create what's called a bight. So the bight that we create here for our cow's tail, we don't want to have it excessive. We want to have it just enough so it brings it in, the not quite close to the D-ring, but not too close. Then we simply follow the original figure 8 knot, the original rope, we follow it around, trace it back around. Until it ends up looking roughly like this. And then, very importantly, we need to dress the knots. I'll show you how to do that. So what we're doing is making sure the length's correct. We pull it in, but we don't want any crossovers at any stage, any part of this knot. If this ends up being a bit long, we can just rethread that back around until we get the desired length. We call that rethreading. And then we want to end up with something looking like that, where there's no crossovers. It's nice and tight. It's not necessary to really load up the cow's tail at the end because you have the potential of overloading that knot. The characteristics of the knots that we use in rope access and for our cow's tails and all our rigging is that they need to have some sort of shock absorbing capability as well as being easily recognized. Now at the end of this cow's tail, what we'd like to do is put a carabiner with a barrel knot. And how we create the barrel knot is a couple of turns back up towards the carabiner, feed it back through. We'll show you this on other following videos. Then finally we do a function test, pull that knot towards the carabiner. Our choice of using the barrel knot, that keeps the carabiner into place. There's many different ways to set up the harness, different knots that are used internationally. We choose to use the rethreaded figure of 8 at the base of the ventral D-ring and the barrel knot here, and again about 110 millimeter tails. Now we're going to do the same thing with all 3 cow's tails. So here we are with the 3 cow's tails, each with the figure of 8 on a bight around our ventral D-ring with the barrel knots on the end, and that's how we're choosing to set up the cow's tails this time around, and a carabiner on each of the barrel knots. So the rest of the carabiners, we'll just put them on our harness so that we can just take them off as we need them to put on the other devices. We like to put them on the gear loops. Here you'll see on the harnesses, we have some gear loops which are rated to approximately 10 kilograms according to the manufacturers. So I like to put all the carabiners in the one place on my harness so that I know where they are, easily accessible. So the descending device is very important as part of our rope access kit. There's a number of devices on the market. We're using the Petzl ID, which is pretty much one of the beginner's descending devices with an anti-panic function. How we install this on the harness, we hold the shiny plate towards us with the writing the right way up. We grab the carabiner, push it through at the bottom of the device, flip the carabiner around so the screw gate now is upside down and facing us, and then we install that in between our cow's tail somewhere. Do up that carabiner so it ends up looking like this. And that's that descending device ready to go. Next we're going to install one of our hand ascender and a foot loop on one of our cow's tails. So I'll put it on one of my external. We have a middle and 2 external cow's tails, as you can see. On one of the external ones we'll put the foot loop. This is one type of foot loop that we have. There's another Etread style foot loop, which is a step foot loop that is also available. We like to show you and demonstrate both styles that we like to put on our harnesses. So put the foot loop on first to trap it in that carabiner on the cow's tail, then grab the hand ascender, place that in, and then with the excess, so that we don't trip over it as we're walking around site, we just loop it up in there somehow and stow it, either on your gear loop or on your side D-ring. Then we have 2 backup devices. We've got 2 styles here. We have an ASAP, which is from Petzl, which is one style of backup device. The only place this can be installed correctly on a work positioning harness is on the sternum D-ring. So we'll place that there. Make sure the carabiners are done up. Then this is the duck, S-Tech duck. This goes on one of your cow's tails. We'll put that on the furthest one of the leading or trailing cow's tails. The way to install this device is to poke that little lever through, plug the carabiner into there, and that's the way that it stows onto the harness. So now we have the 3 cow's tails, 1 foot loop and a hand ascender. We have 2 backup devices. We could use 2 ducks if we wish, or another type of backup device as well, but this is what we're choosing at this stage. Then we have a spare foot loop, the spare Etread. This particular one, it has steps where the orange places are. That always faces down. Now, one thing to mention, that the foot loops are an accessory. If they have a little bit of stitching blown out, for example, in this particular instance, or it's a little bit tacky, we don't have to discard it straight away. This is an accessory that we can use just for climbing around, and we would never use a foot loop for rigging, for example. So we get a spare carabiner that we have, we place it through the hole here, through the keeper. We can shorten it so again it's not a trip hazard, and stow this as a spare one on our harness. And finally, we need to wear a helmet. We're also wearing a buff underneath to capture the sweat in certain parts of the world. It gets a bit sweaty. We have two little dials on the side of the helmet usually, and a Y-shaped chin strap. This is the type of helmet that we use for industrial rope access, so it can't come off our head, and it also has top, sides, front and back impact protection. And here we have a full basic setup of a rope access harness.